This motor spins without any position sensors like Hall sensors, magnetic encoders, or optical encoders. And even if I hold the rotor, the motor still forces itself to keep turning. It looks quite interesting, aside from the audible noise coming from the motor itself. Well, this is one of the popular sensorless field-oriented control methods, called high-frequency injection, or HFI. In the previous episode, I implemented sensorless FOC using a sliding mode observer. The results from that experiment were, in my opinion, quite good at high speeds, but not at low speeds or standstill conditions. And this is where HFI comes in, to achieve good performance at low speeds, allowing HFI to cover the weaknesses of the sliding mode observer. In FOC, we need rotor position information to use in the part transformation. With sensorless methods, we can obtain rotor position information from the motor's back EMF, but at low speed this information can no longer be obtained because the back EMF becomes very small and even disappears completely when the motor is in a standstill condition. So, how can we obtain rotor position information in this situation? In interior PMSEMs, or motors with permanent magnets embedded inside the rotor, the inductance values on the D and Q axes of the rotational reference frame are different. This difference in inductance values, LD and LQ, is what is referred to as saliency. On the D-axis, the reluctance path is high because the magnetic flux must pass through the permanent magnet, resulting in low inductance. Meanwhile, on the Q-axis, the reluctance path is low, resulting in higher inductance. However, in surface mount PMSEMs, the inductance values are relatively similar because the permanent magnets are mounted on the surface of the rotor, and the reluctance tends to be the same at every position. But in reality, SPMSM designs are not completely ideal. As a result, there are small differences between LD and LQ due to manufacturing processes and the materials used. Even though these differences are small, this saliency can still be detected and utilized. And this is where the high-frequency injection method comes into play. The basic principle of HFI is to inject a high-frequency voltage signal that does not affect motor rotation into the stator, and then analyze the current response. This current response contains the rotor position information we are looking for because of the inductance difference between LD and LQ. There are various HFI methods, such as rotating high-frequency injection and pulsating high-frequency injection. The injection signal can also be in the form of sinusoidal injection or square-wave injection. For this experiment, I will try to implement a sinusoidal pulsating high-frequency injection. The scenario is like this. We inject a sinusoidal signal with a certain amplitude and frequency by adding it to the VD voltage. Then we read the current response that has been modulated by the signal we injected earlier. There are various methods to extract this modulation signal into an angle. Some take a reference from the rotational reference frame currents, such as IQ, and some take a reference from the stationary reference frame currents or the alpha-beta frame. The current read on I alpha and a beta that is modulated will look like this. Then we mix this current with the signal 2 sin omega ht, where omega h is the same frequency as the injection frequency, and it will produce a signal like this. After that, we need to perform demodulation to obtain the signal that contains the position information. This can be done by using a low-pass filter to filter out the high-frequency components so that only the components proportional to the rotor position error remain. We refer to these components as I alpha L and I beta L. The position error values from the I alpha L and I beta L signals then enter the PLL. The PI controller in this PLL will correct the position error and produce an estimated rotor speed output. Then, with an integrator, this estimated rotor speed will be converted into an estimated rotor position value, the important value we need to use in the FOC algorithm. Okay, let's jump straight into the implementation. If we look at this injection signal component, it has the form VH cos omega ht, where VH is the amplitude of the injection signal and omega h is the injection signal frequency in radians per second. To generate this signal digitally, we need to create a phase accumulator. The principle is that we compute the phase increment each PWM cycle based on the frequency and the sampling time. Once we have a continuously running phase, we can generate the injection signal, which we will then add to the VD voltage or right after the output of the PI controller. The next step is processing the current response. We take the I alpha and the beta currents, then multiply them with 2 sin omega HT. The result of this multiplication is then passed through a low-pass filter to obtain the low-frequency signals in I alpha and I beta, or I alpha L and I beta L. Here I'm using a second-order Butterworth low-pass filter design. In my opinion, the filter here plays a very important role. The better the filter design, the smaller the position estimation error will be. The ID and IQ currents also need to be filtered. Aside from noise, these currents also contain high-frequency components due to the HFI. Since this injection signal is applied after the PI control, that means the high-frequency components are not needed and can even interfere with the main FOC control loop. Therefore, the high-frequency components in ID and IQ must be removed by passing them through a low-pass filter before being used in the PI control. After obtaining the I alpha L and I beta L values, these two values are fed into the PLL to obtain the estimated rotor position. Inside this PLL, there are gains in the PI controller, KP and KI. I manually tuned these values using a trial and error method to obtain the best result. I tried injecting at 1 kHz with an injection amplitude of 1.2 volts. Meanwhile, the cutoff frequency of the low-pass filter used to extract the modulated signal is 200 Hz. And here are the results. First, I compared the estimated angle from HFI with the actual angle from the magnetic encoder mounted on the rotor shaft that has been calibrated. From this result, it appears that the estimated rotor position changes according to the rotor rotation, but when compared to the actual angle, the values differ. It turns out I missed one thing. Since this estimated angle value comes from the result of integration, it's important to know the initial rotor position at startup. One of the simplest ways is to align the rotor to a known angle, such as 0 degrees, so that the estimated angle matches the actual angle. After performing this alignment, the estimated angle truly becomes very close to the actual rotor angle. But when I rotate the rotor quickly, the estimated angle starts to drift. This is indeed a limitation of HFI. Its ability to detect angle decreases when the motor is in the medium to high speed range. Since the main purpose of using HFI is to overcome the weakness of the sliding mode observer, or SMO, at low speeds, this means we will combine these two sensorless methods. The strategy one used to switch between these two methods is by using hysteresis. From my experiments with SMO, I concluded that SMO can work accurately at speeds above 200 RPM to obtain a reliable position estimate. So, there will be a switch from HFI to SMO when the motor speed exceeds 300 RPM, where HFI can still operate. And if the motor speed drops below 200 RPM, then the system will switch from SMO back to HFI. When SMO is being used, no high-frequency injection is applied to the VD voltage. And when switching to HFI, the rotor position estimate in HFI will be updated using the last position estimate from SMO. After implementing the switching algorithm between HFI and SMO, I obtained results like this. It can be seen that at low speeds, the angle and speed estimation come from HFI. And when I increase the speed set point, the angle and speed estimation will come from SMO. I will try running at 200 RPM, where frequent switching between HFI to SMO and SMO back to HFI will occur. And for me, the results are quite good. I will lower the speed to see how well HFI works at low speeds. At 50 RPM, the motor rotation starts to become rough. And if the speed is lowered further, it becomes jerky. In this experiment, I limited the IQ current to 5 amps, which means the motor torque is also limited and there is no problem in position estimation. However, if I increase the current limit and manually hold the motor shaft, the position estimation often fails when the current increases. This becomes unreliable if we want the motor to operate at high torque. I also tested position control with this method. After manual tuning, the results look like this. For me, this is already quite good considering that I am just starting to experiment with sensorless FOC. I am confident that I can make it even better. Maybe I should try other HFI methods to compare which one performs best. At the very least, with high-frequency injection, we can replace conventional startup methods that require high current. The advantage of using sensorless FOC is that we don't need a physical rotor position sensor, which can reduce cost. However, sometimes we do need high precision for certain applications, and position sensors such as optical encoders are still necessary, or we can combine them with sensorless methods. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next episode.